This is the road to 2019. Friday, 9:30 p.m. means that we are here to look at all the twists and turns and the good news and the bad news and everything else in the run-up to the general elections of 2019. As always, let's just quickly take a look at the good news for the government and the bad news for the government and our regular sections, the index of opposition, unity and the like. So let's just start off with the good news, bad news, which we do every week at this time. Good news. India jumps to 77 in the ease of doing business ranking. And by the way, that's a big thing because the Modi government had come to say we're going to make it much easier. At least they will now be able to say that the World Bank can do this. There's a jump in the manufacturing sector after 4 months. That's another piece of good news there. US has said India can import oil from Iran, which is presumably good news. It's not going to be an all-out trade war. So that's some of the good news. Bad news from the government. Well, here some of it is. Top court has postponed the Ram Mandir case to 2019, so that's not going to happen just yet. Although, as we will see later in the program, maybe that leads to its own sort of dynamics. Other items of bad news for the government. Government has been cornered on CBI and RBI autonomy. This entire institution's question has become quite big. Moving on to the next item. Well, the top court has sought pricing details of Rafale. But that and a lot of other developments which may well mean that the government may want to bury Rafale and not have it as a major issue. No one quite knows, and especially because as top political developments go, this has really been what the latest is. Just today, Rahul Gandhi upping the ante further, talking about kickbacks. Really, this is now becoming an all-out attack. So let's see where this goes up. So that's one big political development. Second big political development, again today, the RSS has said there could be a 1992 type agitation for the Ram Mandir, and that naturally seems to have dominated a lot of the headlines, and that's happened. Other political development, of course, we all saw it, that tribute to Sardar Patel with the world's tallest statue. So that's some of the events of this week. Now, as we promised we would do, we would look at the index of opposition unity every single week. That's going to be important. Chandrababu Naidu was the key player in all of this, met Rahul Gandhi, met Sharad Pawar, met Farooq, basically talking about future plans. So that's one major development that happened. And then, of course, there were other consultations and discussions that took place at many levels. The TMC and the left have joined the Congress-led protests against on the entire question of the CBI chief and what's happening there. That seemed to be some indication of unity. Right. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to be talking about all of these events have helped us perhaps to come to terms with what may be the likely contours of discussion and debate and the defining issues of 2019. And if you look at what's been happening for the last few days, it's increasingly becoming clear that the various political parties, both the opposition and the government, seem to be finding the issues that they are likely to talk about a lot. So here we have it. What's the opposition going to talk about? Institutions under threat. You're going to keep on hearing this. CBI, RBI, what is happening out here, what are the courts doing, so on and so forth. The institution of democracy itself, attacks on the media. All of this is one simple aspect of which the opposition is going to talk about, that this is a government that is eroding India's institutions. That's one thing the opposition is going to talk about. Second, Rafale. Increasingly becoming clear that the Congress party in particular, and maybe the others, have got what they think is that one big issue which they can take to the people. Put a question mark over the incorruptibility of the BJP government and Rafale. That's what they're going to talk about. What's the government going to talk about? Well, increasingly, it's always been clear, but it's becoming increasingly clear. Anytime the opposition tries to do any of those issues, the government's going to come in and say, what about leadership? Hamare paas Modi hai, tumhare paas kaun hai? That's one basic thing that the government is going to keep on talking about. And today, an indication that something else may come up, issues like Ram Mandir. These are again issues that can potentially galvanize the electorate around a single issue, and maybe that's what's going to come up. So I'm going to throw this as a thesis open to all our panelists out here, and then we will look at various events this week which seem to point that, all right, that's the matrix, put it up. Every time you see a comment coming up, it's going to fit into this matrix, one or the other. There's one, by the way, there are obviously common themes that will lie across both sides. Economy, both will talk about. One will say it's doing well, one will say it's doing badly. Worrying about the poor, both will do it. Worrying about, the oppressed and, Dalit rights and all of that, both will talk about it. But in terms of differentiation and position, that may well be the way it shapes up. All right, let me welcome all of our guests out here. It's great to have joining us Shantanu Gupta, author of Yogi Adityanath's biography, been a close observer of politics, especially in UP. What's going to happen will be crucially important. Ghanshyam Tiwari, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, good to have you with us. Pawan Khera joining us, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Hitesh Jain joining us from Mumbai, lawyer, leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, great to have you with us. Lanka Dinakar is joining us, spokesperson of the TDP is joining us from Hyderabad. And Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, journalist and author, with us here as well. All right, I'm going to start putting up that matrix again, and I'm going to get each of you to talk through it to some extent. Pawan Khera, why don't I start with you? Was I correct in picking the two major issues that the Congress is now going to try and focus everyone's attention on over the next 6 months? Attack on institutions, A. By definition, you will say that this is a dictatorial government and authoritarian government. That's A. And B, Rafale. Is that it, or have I missed out something?
Partially correct. It's a very lucky opposition, I would say. Mr. Modi has offered us a huge menu of options. Economy being a major part of it. Unemployment is a part of that. The impact of demonetization is now being felt across the country, across every sector. You conduct a survey, you also will find out how demonetization has come back to haunt this government.
Okay,
Rafale
we'll come to
hits out at the corruption. Yes, I'm coming to that. Institutions, we kept talking about it for the last 4 years, and now it's for everyone to see. You see how the CBI is fighting the RAW, and CBI number 2 is using the RAW number 2 to snoop upon CBI number 3. Now, this has never happened before. You saw what happened to the Supreme Court, again unprecedented. You see the RBI, what's happening today with the RBI, unprecedented. Okay. So, it's not just one institution. This government is against, when they say Congress Mukht Bharat, believe you me,
I was asking you about the broad headline.
Wait.
I know what you're going to say on each of those issues. I'm just asking, can I have that matrix up?
No, I mean, there's so many issues. You give me more time, I'll talk about the entire list. No. We are very lucky, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, you've got a bunch of issues to talk about. Hitesh, let me turn to you on that particular note. You saw the list of issues. Opposition, guess being, is going to talk a lot about institutions, as we heard him doing, going to talk about Rafale. You, on the other hand, are going to try and draw everyone's attention to the leadership. And perhaps today we've seen one more card being unveiled, which is Ram Mandir. Is that a fair summation of 2019 already? 6 months to go?
Vikram, the only issue for the 2019 election is going to be whether Prime Minister Modi to continue or chaotic coalitions to continue. That is the only issue.
Okay, take
and I will draw
top right-hand corner of the matrix. As I said, top right-hand corner of the matrix, it's there. It's the leadership question. Fine, I hear you. As expected, yeah.
First. Second, now yesterday we saw the images of Chandrababu Naidu and Rahul Gandhi. Now in 2013, Chandrababu Naidu made a passionate speech that in desperation to make Rahul Gandhi a Prime Minister, Andhra Pradesh was divided by Sonia Gandhi. The mother wanted to make her son a Prime Minister, and therefore she ruined the whole state of Andhra Pradesh. Now these are not the words of BJP, these are the words of N. Chandrababu Naidu. And how does this changes in 2018 and 2019? It reflects a sheer opportunism. Third, the very fact that Congress is trying to court Shiv Sena to support them is another set of contradiction and opportunism. So what are you seeing? You are seeing there is no principle. The only agenda is Modi Hatao.
Okay.
The only agenda is BJP, anti-BJPism. They do not have any positive points. They do not have answers. For example, I mean, when they speak about traders, MSMEs, they only provide lip
I'm going to get both of you to talk about the economy.
Today
yeah, Hitesh.
Yes, so I'm now coming on the economy for about the 12th set of indicators.
Carry on, I'm allowing you to finish.
Well, the 12 set of indicators which and the reforms, the 12 reforms, important reforms which were taken out by Mr. Modi I mean, the Congress was in power for 10 years. Nobody stopped them from bringing up this reform. So therefore, to shred crocodile tears for the traders and MSME is just, just a sloganeering which the Congress does. When they are in the power, they try to suck the blood out of these traders and the small business people. So people are going to see the reality as against the falsehood that is being spread by the Congress party.
Okay, fine. I heard both of you. Both of you have almost entirely substantiated with both sort of an opening statements, the basic thesis that I started with, and I'm going to put that thesis back on the screen so that everyone can see it. Let me get Nilanjan in on that note. Nilanjan, you've of course been a close observer of Narendra Modi's, and as I said, you heard what Hitesh was saying. You know, it's all about they want to just remove Narendra Modi. So it's that leadership question that is up there. Institutions and Rafale, we heard, we heard Pawan talk about. We heard both talking about the economy. That's what I pretty much started with. Am I missing something in this matrix?
No.
I'm trying to give an analytical structure for us to have in our heads when we look at the next 6 months.
No, Vikram, I don't think you're missing anything. In fact, when you were giving the introduction, I was getting a bit worried, that if you're already taking so much time to actually introduce the issues which have already come on the table, by the time this campaign is a bit more older and by the time we come closer, then possibly to bring in all the issues on the table will take you more than half the time of a program, because the number of issues which are coming up, ready ammunition and fodder being provided to the opposition is really amazing. It is a throwback to what was happening in 2012.
At least as of now, it looks as if it's going to.
Talking about very specifics, I think you have put it very aptly. The 2 points on both sides each, the way I look at it, the opposition is talking about a huge structural damage. The huge structural damage is not just to the executive, judiciary, legislature and of course the media also, the fourth estate as we call it, but also to the entire body polity of this country, the way in which the entire the discourse has been tarnished in this country, the way it has been made vicious. These are all very important things. So there has been a structural damage in the last 4.5 years, and corruption, which used to be an issue of which this government was very clear of, has come to haunt them in a bad way, and they have not yet been able to provide very credible replies to what is being charged.
And for corruption,
from the BJP,
is therefore a byword for Rafale.
I think so. Just a second, let me complete it. From the BJP, their campaign is essentially a negative plank, that you have a khichdi sarkar. That means that you are not presenting a hope and a dream like in 2013-14, but you're presenting fear and nightmare. So you're scaring people that if not us, oh terrible people. And the other thing is, of course, back to polarization. You have nothing else to talk to, not only Ram Mandir, but beef, you have love jihad, you have renaming of cities.
So Ram
Anywhere
Mandir,
you look
I
around,
put Ram Mandir into my matrix, but
huge,
Ram Mandir could be, let's put that graphic
back
up.
There's a huge Hindutva plus, in which Ram Mandir is a very big component.
Fine. So let's put that graphic up.
Yeah.
I'm using Rafale as a byword for, Rafale is actually the only thing.
Yeah, it's just a tip of the iceberg, as the Congress would like to say.
Ram Mandir, I put it there in this particular matrix. It's you could use it to also talk about love jihad and other aspects, but Ram
Vikram,
Mandir,
I want to speak on Vikram. Can I just intervene for 1 minute?
Yeah,
Vikram, can I just intervene for 1 minute?
Yeah, Hitesh, carry on. Yeah, carry on.
Well, Mr. Mukhopadhyay is also on the channel, and we saw that 3 days before a Doordarshan cameraman was attacked and killed by Maoists over there. And I did not see any anger or concern by Mr. Mukhopadhyay or media, unfortunately, what we saw. So therefore, when people speak about quality of discourse and other things, but frankly speaking, all these people, the fact is they only use convenient examples just to tarnish the image of the government. But when it comes to stand for their own fraternity, these people are hypocrites. They don't stand. That is also an issue.
Actually,
people are also going to watch about these so-called people who speak on various issues and their hypocrisy also.
No, whataboutery has been.
I should actually add probably,
whataboutery has been a steady and a consistent line of attack or the strategy of the BJP for the last 4.5. You throw a question, they say, forget this question. What about this question? After 3.5 decades in this profession, I do not think that anybody should question me about my professional integrity, about my commitment to my fellow colleagues. We have been in this profession where we know the risks that we have taken. I have personally taken risk, many other colleagues have taken. We really do not want to go into this. It is not my responsibility to go and seek certification from somebody else that have I shown anger enough or not because of a journalist got killed in Bastar or anywhere else. Of course, there have been professional bodies which have protested against it. Now, if they do not think that it is strong enough a protest, then it is their problem.
Okay.
There has to be a difference between violence propagated by people who are protesting, whatever be the reasons, against state, and by state sponsored or state backed violence.
Okay.
I would see it as a difference.
Okay, I'm going to pause this entire debate because we'll get completely hijacked and completely derailed. Let me keep coming back to everyone else and get them to comment. And I'm going to ask my producers to put the matrix back up. Ghanshyam Tiwari, take a look at that particular matrix and tell me if this is or not a ready reference guide for the 2019 elections.
Well, it is partially full matrix, I would say. There are issues that undermine Mr. Modi as a leader, unlike his stature in 2013, and some of those issues are there, institutions as well as his own promises failing. There are issues that undermine BJP as a party of good governance, and those issues live in states and they live at the center. And then there are issues that present opposition state by state as credible alternative or suitors for people's vote. And that is the part that I believe is slightly missing in your matrix. When you look at this same matrix states up rather than center down, you would see a different set of issues. For example, just today in Uttar Pradesh, the police lathi charge youth who were protesting why their jobs have been cancelled by the government, or why their jobs have been cancelled by the court, and the government did not show enough interest in that entire process. So you would have issues where core issues that people face in states will crop up, and they will find leaders of opposition more credible for their votes.
Valid point, and there will be state specific questions in addition to this matrix. I think that's a point well taken. Before I come to Lanka Dinakar and I come to Shantanu Gupta, let's look at some of the events in the last 1 week to see whether this matrix is in fact the right matrix for us to analytically look at the 2019 election. Let's take one of the big events that happened, which was that joint statement, joint press conference, call it what you will, between with Rahul Gandhi and Chandrababu Naidu standing out there, an interesting shaking of hands out there, which may well have important indications as well for 2019. Here's what they had to say. Listen to that, and then after that I'm going to play you some of the questions that we heard. It'll again bring us back to this matrix. Here's their press conference. Well, excerpts from it.
And on save democracy. That is our mission. That's why I discussed with Rahul ji also. In principle, we agreed. Some of you are having a doubt about our past. It is a democratic compulsion now. We have to join together to protect this country.
All right. If you heard more aspects from that, you would hear essentially both Rahul Gandhi and Chandrababu Naidu were talking in that particular press conference on the attack of institutions. But here's what some of the questions that were asked to them. Okay, we'll
Your interest is sensationalism.
Yeah.
Right? You want sensation,
Yeah.
but we have to work together to deliver
People's aspiration.
people's aspiration and the future.
Okay, fine. So the questions that they were asked, I think we were trying to conserve time, so we didn't show the whole thing. But essentially, if you saw this, Shantanu, actually, why don't I start off by throwing this to Lanka? Lanka Dinakar. So, I mean, if we showed more of that particular press conference, they kept on saying institutions, RBI, CBI, what is happening, etc., etc. And what the gathered journalists kept on asking them is, who's going to be the leader of your alliance and your coalition? So brings us back to the point. Is that the basis on which the TDP and the Congress are shaking hands when you're saying we have to save the nation? I think that's the words that Chandrababu Naidu used.
Yeah, it is, as far as the leadership is concerned, it is very clear that we started a first phase program regarding to the unitization of all regional forces and anti-Modi forces so as to safeguard this nation from the undermining the institutions, especially four estates or four pillars of the Indian democracy. All these four estates were undermined. Estate number one, Parliament, which was abused as far as AP Reorganization Act, which passed by the Parliament, which was not implementing by the BJP-led Narendra Modi government. Abuse number two, executive. As far as demonetization is concerned, who shall declare? Where is the RBI governor? What is the RBI governor is announcing? Is he ready to continue his office now? Why is going to resignation? What is happening? Estate 3, judiciary. Supreme Court judges came forward in respect of their objections in too much interference from the government. Estate 4, media. I need not to say what is happening in this nation around the media. I don't want to give any examples. After the two journalists who has made sting operations so as to cut the Man Ki Baat flaws. This is the thing. All the estates, all the institutions were undermined. CBI versus CBI. We never ever seen in the history of the India these kind of operations using CBI against the political opponents for creating fabricated statements with their aides like Astana. These are the things which are evident what is happening for past 6 months. Apart from that, how the Modi come into the power in the year 2014 when he is campaigning as a NDA prime ministerial candidate.
Okay.
He always focus on because against to the Bhrashtachar. What is happening? He is roaming around the Bhrashtachar. Bhrashtachars are very conveniently going away from the nation. Where is the Vikas? He is unable to tell even a single flagship program.
More on each of these items.
The nation.
I'll take the points as read. We get the gist.
Past 4 years, less than 7% average growth rate.
Okay. Wait. Fine. I'm going to summarize everything which you said. I'm going to summarize everything that you said as being items 1 and 2 on my opposition matrix because Bhrashtachar, well, okay, Rafale is there and everything else that you said on the four estates fits into institutions. So you are as per that matrix that I said. Shantanu, let me get you in here right now. I'm increasingly falling in love with this matrix because everything we've heard for 25 minutes has fallen into one or the other of the items out here.
I think being an engineer...
Lanka just everything he said was institutions under threat, the four estates under threat, and he briefly talked about corruption which would fit in with Rafale. So I'm not leaving it up to you. What are you going to say now? And by the way, the questions that we heard the journalists asking Chandrababu Naidu and Rahul Gandhi, who's going to be your prime ministerial candidate? That's the leadership question.
I think exactly this matrix is interesting, and being an engineer, I think I love matrices and fitting different ideas so that it's easy to understand. See, how I see it, that from 2014 onwards, we started seeing a politics of aspiration versus a politics of victimization, which we have seen. In the process, Modi and BJP government might have overpromised, but to my feeling, and I travel a lot because of my books, the Janta still feels he might not have fulfilled all the promises, but he is still the one who can do it. So the politics
is the one who can do it.
If someone can do it,
and therefore the leadership.
The same institution, same Babu, same files are still existing. CBI fights are not new. We have seen courts commentary of CBI. During this 3 years, we have seen CBI have indicted BJP people, RSS people. Courts have given verdict again. BJP people. BJP have lost elections. The election commission. So saying this based on 1 or 2 cases that institution under threat. So first thing is politics of aspiration. Who can do it? Second thing on corruption. A lot of political party will try to throw a lot of muck, but will it sticking or not? Rafale is not sticking. When I go to people, first of all, Rafale is not an issue. I was in Ayodhya, I was in Gorakhpur 2 weeks back. For them, Rafale is not an issue. But is it sticking or not? The president of France is coming, there is nothing. The CEO of the company is saying nothing. Anil Ambani is saying nothing. Congress party is not going to the court.
Would be Anil Ambani saying nothing? He's filing lawsuits,
Yeah,
like
So you
defamation
didn't hear
suits
French,
against
you
anybody who
didn't hear
says.
French president and Rafale CEO also,
Vikram,
right?
Yeah, but I mean, frankly, in a
Vikram,
situation
So it's
where,
not sticking. It's not. to my
frankly,
mind,
in
it's not
any
sticking at all.
situation where there are
Not sticking at
10,000
all.
crore rupee defamation
Vikram.
cases, are you surprised that no one's really talking much about it?
Vikram,
French
Vikram,
president is saying that
Vikram.
there's nothing in it.
Yeah, Lanka.
Rafale
Vikram.
CEO is saying nothing in it. So if it's a Rahul
Vikram.
Gandhi
Okay,
theory,
Lanka.
if he can sell it, it's fine.
Vikram.
If he can celebrate
Okay.
still
Lanka.
now, to my mind, is not
Can
able
you
to.
allow me
Lanka,
for-
Lanka,
I need to
Janaka,
get in
let me
here.
get you in here.
Can you
And
allow me for
remember, whatever you say may have a 10,000 crore rupee price tag attached to it. Now speak.
Yeah. I am
For a
unable
moment, I thought you were going to go
understand,
silent after
40
hearing
to
that.
50 crores Beaufort scam is in force for 40 years. 40,000 crores Rafale deal is not at all considerable. How can you believe? How can you trust these kind of statements? When you give some kind of statements, give practically. 40 years you run the politics around the Beauforts. Yeah, but you don't be feel. The people are very much alert, assertiveness. They know very well what to deal, how to feel. There are so many people are telling that we have Modi. Yes, we have people. 130 crore people support we have now. Yes, as per the aspiration of the public, we elected Modi as a prime minister in NDA. He is unable to fulfill his people's aspiration.
Okay, we'll see what
There is
people
no
think
single
about it.
Flagship program.
All right, Malti.
Which is enhance the
Okay,
capacity
you're going to have
of
6
government.
months. Hang on.
Where is single flagship program?
Okay, you're going to have 6 months to lay all of these issues before the public, and no doubt you will. All right, I haven't seen any serious and meaningful arguments out here with the items on that particular matrix. We haven't yet discussed a couple of them in too much detail, which is the Rafale aspect of it and the Ram Mandir aspect of it. Both of them heating up reasonably considerably just today. So I'm going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we'll take a look at those issues as well.